Going live.
What's up, tribe? I think we are live. I
We are.
do believe we are live. Welcome. It is Friday morning, the 11th of the 2nd. That means it's one day before my sister's birthday. Just remembered. Thank you all for reminding me. And we got that $1 trillion energy today. I've been for a good walk over the Harbour Bridge. Richie is just looking incredibly riggish today. And we are, I can't see the stream yet, so I'm just going to refresh my page. Just give me a sec. We got a really, really good show today. We got a really, really good topic to discuss. No, I still can't see it. Are you in the right group, Richard?
Should be.
UMS Movement Mastermind group.
Changed
And
it
I can see
before.
we're up on YouTube. Hello, everybody on YouTube. Make sure you smash that like button in case we haven't met. My name is Yanni Bormeister. To my left, your right, is Richard the Rig Lellies. We are head coaches of Unity Gym and the Unified Movement System, where we turn driven people into athletes. I'm just stalling here so that I can make sure that the stream comes up
It's
in
all
the Movement
right.
Mastermind group.
Continue on, Yanni. I'll fix it. I think I just may not have saved something when I was setting up the stream. So continue on.
Okay, no worries. Well, this show comes from a really, really good sort of question slash comment in the UMS Movement Mastermind Facebook group from a gentleman called Michael Marshall. It was yesterday, and it's also had a follow-up comment in the post from Sam Dyer, and both related to shoulder injuries. I'm going to read the comment out, and I'm also going to encourage everybody watching on YouTube, because that's seems to be the only place we're streaming to at the moment, to get yourself over, if you haven't, and join the Movement Mastermind Facebook group. I'll make it very, very easy for you. It's always a pinned link in the description of these videos, but I'll also put it in the comments. And the reason for this is for exactly what we're talking about today. We're going to be helping these guys, and what we can do is we can encourage these guys to post videos of themselves, which is what we're going to do. Now, Michael says, hey guys, I've been doing shoulder stretching mobility exercises and strengthening exercises for my rotator cuffs, but I'm still getting impingement in my right shoulder from time to time, and it just feels weak. He uses a bit of profanity there. I won't, an acronym, especially when I get up on a morning. I reach over for a drink, it hurts. I pour a cup of tea, it hurts. I push my bed covers off, it hurts. It's actually quite common. I'll just break away here. It's quite common that when you are dealing with shoulder impingement, that it hurts first thing in the morning after you wake up, because you've usually laid on it for a while, and that can make the problem worse. And then once you get moving and it warms up a little bit, the pain can tend to subside, or the discomfort can subside a little bit. This isn't all the time, but it's regular enough to upset him and want him to sort of bulletproof his shoulders. Look into bulletproofing his shoulders for further training. He has also said here that he has seen a physio, and the physio's checked his range of motion and says it's just fine, and a flare up. And he says, I'm not having it, lol. And then Sam, who's another member of the tribe, has said, I'm having a similar issue. Physio said I need to build strength, but been working in that for a couple of months and it's no better. Said it's just a niggle. It's not when I can't move my shoulder when it flares up and have less mobility. Constantly feel your pain, brother. And look, the physio is pretty bang on. You like, I would say the priority should be to build strength, and we're going to dive deeper into that, because it's not a blanket statement and there's not one way to build strength, and this is where the issue lies. But first of all, what I want to say is, when we get a post like this, which is just copy, there's no, and this is why we created our online coaching groups, because we had so many people online. We used to just operate out of a gym and post a lot of free content on YouTube. And then we had so many people online asking us questions like this, very valid, very good questions. And the only way that we can really help is to have a look at you, is to get you to post a video of yourself, and then we can have a look, and we can then make a much better assumption of what's going on, because there's all these variables. How much muscle mass have you got? What is your posture looking like? what is your technique in the rotator cuff exercises looking like? What rotator cuff exercises are you doing? Are you limiting it just to internal and external rotation, ER and IR under load using cables or bands? Or are you doing anti-stabilization exercises? Are you doing scapular control drills? What exercises are you being prescribed by your physiotherapist? And then to take it further, are you training joint symmetry? Are you training agonist versus antagonist imbalance? Are you training the shoulder stabilizer systems in balance with the prime movers? All of these factors come into play. And once we can rule out that you are training all of those exercises properly, all of those methods properly, then we want to look at technique of the actual exercises. Are you nailing, executing technique properly? And then once we got all of that ruled out, we want to look at how are you managing load? And load management comes down to usually 4, if not 5 key elements. You can add recovery on the end of it as the 5th. But the first one is intensity. What sort of weight and load are you lifting? And is it affecting your form technique execution? The next is volume. How much volume are you doing within the workouts? And then frequency, volume within the week. And then the range of movement that you're choosing to do. Is the range of movement that you're choosing to do beyond your limitations currently, based on the fact that you're experiencing shoulder impingement? Because range of movement, we all adopt this notion that you should always maximize your range of movement. But if you're experiencing an impingement, and usually that's got to do with the fact that there's excessive joint glide, meaning that the stabilizer systems are not doing their job properly. And when you're going through a movement, the humerus in the bone should pivot like this nicely, or pivot on a nice axis this way. It shouldn't slide around in the joint, because when it slides around in the joint, they call that joint glide. It's going to hit passive structures, or rub against passive structures that are not designed to be rubbed against and irritated. And that's where these impingement problems happen. It's usually shoulder impingement. The term is when the humerus is rubbing against the supraspinatus tendon, which sort of comes through the bone and attaches to the top of the head of the humerus. And if you're getting that joint glide excessively, there's a functional problem in the shoulder, and it can be due to a myriad of factors. It can be due to poor posture. It can be due to poor strength, structural balance. We call it anatomical structural balance in the unified movement system. And that can be a breakdown of strength versus flexibility. It can be a breakdown of limb symmetry, left to right side. It can be a breakdown of agonist versus antagonist prime mover systems. So, you should always be training a balance of push-pull, horizontal, push-pull, vertical plane. And then it can be a breakdown in the stability system. So the deeper rotator cuff muscles, infraspinatus, teres minor, supraspinatus, subscapularis, levator scapular muscles, which is not the part of the rotator cuff, but it's part of the stabilizer system, rhomboids, versus the traps, deltoids, pecs, biceps, lats, that sort of thing, And so what I like to say when we get a post like this, it's kind of like I used this analogy this morning when I was talking to the boys and we were getting ready to come on. It's like saying I drive to work every day, and I got a really nice car, but every day I drive, every so often I arrive at work and there's a new dent in my car, and I just can't figure out why. Sometimes the dents are really big and there's a lot of damage and I have to go get it fixed, and other times it's just a big scrape or down the side and a broken headlight. And we don't, like, for all we know, you could be driving on the wrong side of the road. We don't know. Are you speeding? Are you driving like a maniac? Are you not stopping for red lights? Are you, crashing up onto the sidewalk? And are you using your mobile phone and rear-ending people? We don't know. The only way we're going to know is if we watch a video of you, set up a GoPro in your car and film the trip, and then we can determine why you're ending up with dents in the car, And so this is why we created our UMS online coaching. And I know this is going to sound like a plug for our program, but there's no real other way of saying this. And, for all of you on YouTube, this is why we have the free group, the UMS Movement Mastermind, because you can post a video of yourself. And although you're not going to get as much attention as you will if you're in one of our programs, our Unified Movement System programs, we have different tiers of the program. We have our athlete transformation, which is our top tier, which is, you know, the absolute pinnacle of what I believe online coaching should be. And then we have our progressions and foundations program, where it's done for you programs. But we're still in there every week, you know, and people can post videos of themselves doing the exercises so that we can critique them. And that's literally, as soon as we get off this call, as soon as we get off this Q&A, Richie and I, we're straight into our peak performance group to deliver online coaching. And that's what we do. We critique videos of guys that have posted, and we teach them how to take really high quality video from multiple angles of movements that they're not sure of, so that we can critique them. We show them the equipment they should be using Joby Gorilla Pods so that they can set the camera angles up really nicely and all this sort of stuff. And then straight after that group, we go into our 12-month transformation group, and we're in there for an hour usually. We have our physios come in and join us, and there's usually a number of expert coaches who have a minimum of 10 years coaching experience in there, giving these guys feedback. And that's what I urge you guys to do, you know, because I don't like, although you're definitely on the right track, you know, strengthening the rotator cuff muscles are going to help um, minimize that joint glide. Mobility exercises, I dare say, you know, we tend to use stretching as it's like a lotion to fix pain, but it doesn't always help, because if you've got some sort of pain, it usually is a muscle tear. And the initial the most important thing initially is to build strength in that, so that the muscle stops either spasming or tearing, you know, and it can be micro tears, or it can be something more major like a grade 2 or a grade 1 tear. And here's the thing with impingement, with supraspinatus impingement, it will end in a breakdown of that tissue, and possibly a tear that needs, you know, that then you go to a physio and they go, oh, we're going to get a scan, and then you get a scan, and yeah, you've got a decent tear there and something going on, and they might send you off to an orthopedic surgeon, which, you know, we don't want. We don't want people chopping through your muscle tissue to get in there and try to fix something that can be fixed with the right prescription of exercise. Richie, have you got anything else to add?
You're summing up pretty well, Yanni. It's the last thing we want to have to go through surgery. We want to fix this with exercise. It's a lot less expensive. It's a lot less frustrating. It's frustrating now, but you can imagine what it's going to be what it's going to be like when you have to consider paying for something that you didn't really need in the first place. So get on top of it with the right exercise and the right coaching, if possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll just quickly, because we are having to jump out into our peak performance coaching group for their daily group coaching call. But I'll just summarize, okay? The key things that you need to understand is that the shoulder rotator cuff, it is it's a stabilization system. It's designed to keep the shoulder localized in the joint as it moves. The big prime movers like the pecs, the lats, the deltoids, they want to pull the bone out of the socket as they're moving. And the rotator cuff is what's helping to localize it in there so that it moves around. And the better that they call it glenohumeral synergy is, the less glide you get in that joint. And so we want to rule that out first. And the way we do that is by training not just internal and external rotation. IR and ER are good and they're important, but we also need to train the stabilizer systems. And if you haven't sort of scaled it back and done that, then you need to look into anti-stabilization exercises. The other thing is that you need to train the scapular musculature so that you can set the scapula properly when you're lifting heavy, when you're training the prime movers. If you haven't trained the scapular musculature properly, then you're going to have problems when you're trying to set your shoulders for heavy lifting. So we look at those two first, and we rule out those two first. Then we look at integrating prime mover, and we manage range of movement so that you're not training it to a point where it's aggravating the problem, and we're building up that strength, because we want to make those shoulders robust, as Michael said here, bulletproof. And so we make sure that we're training in balance. We've got a 1-to-1 ratio of pulling and pushing in the horizontal plane, and we have a 1-to-1 ratio of pulling and pushing in the vertical plane. That is the next step. And then from there, we look at unilateral balance. So we make sure, because if you're not unilaterally balanced from left to right side, every time you do a barbell exercise, one of them is going to get overloaded and one of them is going to get underloaded. And every time you do a bilateral pulling movement, like a pull up or a chin up, one of them is going to get overloaded, one of them is going to get underloaded. And guess what happens when one gets overloaded? You get impingement problems and things like that. So we got to look at that unilateral balance. And that means sometimes taking a step back and doing like the foundations program that we've got, where we train mostly unilateral exercises under load, dumbbells instead of barbells, and things like that. So there are these phases that we're going to look at and make sure that you guys can rule out. So make sure that there's no joint glide. Make sure you're training anti-stabilization for the rotator cuff as well as internal external rotation. Make sure you're training balance in prime mover, agonist, antagonist, horizontal plane and vertical plane. For every pushing movement, you do a pulling movement and vice versa. Okay. Make sure that you're training the shoulder scapular musculature so that you're able to set. So that's the lower trapezius, the mid trapezius, rhomboids, and levator scapular muscles. And then make sure that you're managing load. And load is all of those variables. Remember, intensity, how much weight you lift, volume, how many sets, reps you do, frequency, how many like workouts you do on the same muscle groups, and range of movement, how much you're taking the joint through its range of movement. Are you pushing beyond your limitations and losing or breaking form? And then recovery. How much rest between workouts are you getting, and how good quality is your recovery? Are you getting good quality sleep and all that, and nutrition and all that sort of thing? So that's what we would do in the UMS coaching system. And I would encourage both of you, Michael and Sam, if you watch this, I hope you do, post a video of yourself doing some of these exercises so that we can give you a little bit of a deeper feedback. We will happily continue this discussion because we love plugging our program and we love proving how good a coaches we are. Anyway, guys, have a great day. See you all next week. It's Friday here in Sydney, Australia. So we are getting ready for the weekend and wrapping up the week. We'll see you on Monday.
You guys.